Now that we understand the difference between the two, you may wonder what exactly are we supposed to notice and how do we develop the skills to notice so many things simultaneously. Let me answer two questions one by one. First, what all do we notice? Anything that your senses can observe, you can use for calibration. Just to make it easier for you to understand, I am going to give you a list of things to begin with. To remember the list, you can use the acronym BLESS. B stands for breathing. It includes the rate of breathing, is it fast or slow, location of breathing, whether it is the chest or the stomach. L stands for lower lip size. As the client's emotional state changes, you will notice subtle changes in the size of their lower lips. E stands for eyes. As far as eyes are concerned, there is so much that you can observe. Whether the eyes are focused or defocused, dilated or undilated, whether the eyes are moist or not. You may also notice the rate of blinking. S stands for skin color. Have you noticed what happens to the color of the skin when a person feels very embarrassed? The skin becomes a bit red, doesn't it? Similarly, when someone is scared, don't we see the color at times draining out of their skin? The skin starts looking a bit pale. These are more obvious examples, but these changes in skin color also happens at a subtle level when we are experiencing different emotional states. Observing the skin color can be a very useful indicator of the client's emotional state. The last S stands for skin tone. The change in the skin tone is a result of the slight relaxation or contraction of the muscles under the skin. The tightness of the skin can be a good indicator for the same. Obviously, these are just some examples of what you can observe. You can add facial expressions and also specific gestures among other things to this list. Also, the idea behind this observation is to notice the changes that are observable in the client during a conversation to assess the emotional state the client is experiencing. Remember, this assessment is not based on assumptions or mind reading, but based on the pattern that you have identified from earlier observations of the client's physiology when he or she had experienced these states. This then brings us to the second question. How do we develop the skills to observe so many things simultaneously? The answer is like you develop any other skill. You may need to break it down initially into small activities that you can do to become more observant of what you see, what you hear, and what sensations you experience. As you start developing a sensory acuity, your unconscious can help you calibrate things almost on an autopilot. If you think of this, it is a lot like learning how to drive or how to cook or even learning a new language. In the beginning, it looks and sounds very difficult. But once you start doing it, especially when you start enjoying it, the same things become relatively automatic. In the classroom module, we will be doing some activities to get you started on different ways to develop these skills to calibrate effectively. We will also walk you through the activities that you can continue to do to further enhance these skills. Let me end this video by giving you an example of the application of calibration and sensory acuity in a therapy situation. Let's suppose you are working with a client and they have anxiety about a situation. You calibrate the anxiety state and the relaxed confidence state. After you've done your work, you associate them back into the formerly anxious memory. They say they feel fine, but you notice they have several markers of anxious state present. What do you think will happen once the client goes back in that situation in future? Isn't there a high chance of the anxiety coming back as these markers still remain? Wouldn't it be better to deal with these remaining anxious state markers as well? Finally, calibration can extremely be useful for developing rapport with a client or with someone else really. We will discuss rapport and the application of calibration for rapport building in detail in another video.